All right.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Maybe it was just me then.
I'm fucking ready.
Wait, can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure
Yes.
that you guys can hear me. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Loud and
can.
clear.
I
Loud and
can.
clear.
You know what this?
Okay, cool.
What happened? We didn't have enough balloons. Oh, that sounds like a good idea, Jerry.
Oh no!
All right.
God damn it.
George Romero's Resident Evil, and go.
Stay away from here.
Oh wait, are we starting? Wait, what?
I don't know. That's what I heard.
Whoop.
Yeah.
All right, that was a practice start.
It's okay. Let's do it again.
So,
All right,
So
Resident Evil.
are we doing introductions or not?
I think we're going to skip them at this point because we're an hour in.
So I'll just start reading from the beginning, I guess.
Sure.
Let me know when everybody's ready.
ready?
Ready.
Do it.
Ready?
Hello, this is Audible. Resident Evil original screenplay by George A. Romero, based on the game by Capcom. Screen story by George A. Romero and Peter Grunwald. Constantine Film, Romero Grunwald Productions. First draft, October 7th, 1998. Resident Evil. Presentation credits appear, then fade. Out of black, shot cut to interior lab, a level, timeless, a man's face filling the screen.
Stay away from here.
We're watching a video monitor. A pre-recorded tape shows a view of what is obviously a pristine research laboratory. Dr. John Marcus, in a lab coat, faces the camera, disheveled and looking like a madman.
The lab must remain sealed.
In the conference room, overhead lamps cast pools of light down on a conference table onto the hands of people assembled to observe the video. We see no faces, but expensive watches, sleeves with high-ranking stripes indicate wealth, power, and a military presence.
For God's sakes, don't come in.
The camera is swatted by a hand that lurches suddenly into the foreground. We only see it for a few frames, but we might subliminally notice lesions on the flesh. The image swirls wildly. The next picture we see is of the same laboratory, topsy-turvy. The camera is lying on its side on the floor.
Look. Here.
A laser pointer casts a red dot on a corner of the video screen, indicating a hunched figure leaning over a human body, apparently feeding. With a grunt, the figure turns and lunges, its face covered with blood, at the camera. The image swirls again and the screen goes black. With a music sting, a title appears, full across the blackness. In the forest, pre-dawn, a dark sky, and in the foreground, profiled against the full moon, a dark face watching the heavens with piercing black eyes, alert but not predatory. This is Chris Redfield, young, handsome, more than simply an outdoors type. He seems perfectly in place, almost part of the environment. Sitting on a ridge, squinting into that band of light, Chris sees an eagle coasting on a channel of wind that cuts through the hilltops. As the bird moves swiftly closer, it becomes recognizable. Chris smiles and jots a note on a pad. The regal bird lands on a high rock where unexpectedly a freshwater trout lies flapping, 3,000 feet above the highest water.
Take it, Goliath. You earned it.
Goliath snaps up the fish and flies away with it.
See you next year, guy.
Another eagle, smaller, a female, appears in the sky.
Cleopatra, come on down.
The eagle circles, its sharp eyes scanning. It makes another dive, but stops short again.
What's the matter, beautiful?
The bird seems frightened. Of what? It makes one more dive, gets very close to the fish, but suddenly shrieks and peels away from the rock. Chris, concerned as he watches the eagle disappear over the hills. Over his shoulder, we can see a high rock that holds the fish. It's out of focus in the background, but the moonlight catches something more moving there. Something that lets out a sharp, inhuman sound. Chris whirls around. There's nothing on the rock, nothing at all. The fish has been taken. In Jill's apartment, at dawn, Chris walks into a characterless apartment and sheds his clothes. Live, Laugh, Love is on the wall above his bed. Even in silhouette, we can see that his body is in perfect shape, lean and tight, moving lively. With the natural grace of a cat, he eases himself into a bed where a beautiful young girl, Jill Valentine, seems to be fast asleep. As Chris nestles in beside her, we see that her eyes facing away are open. Chris gently drapes an arm around her and lets his body relax.
Glad you're still here, lady.
It's my apartment.
You're awake?
I've been awake since you left.
Sorry, there was something wrong.
What, with my dinner? I never had a mother. I'll learn.
I'll do the cooking. On the mound there must have been something prowling up there.
There are probably all kinds of things prowling around up there in the middle of the night.
I'm sorry, really. You have to be there at dawn. They ride the wind over the ridge.
Dawn, you left at 1 a.m.
I had to go fishing. It's the fish that bring them down, so I can get a close look at them. I've tracked a dozen of them, Jill. 12 of those big bruisers. I can actually recognize them. I've even given them names over the years.
You've been doing this for years?
Only in the early autumn, when they're migrating.
I'll set the alarm for next October. I wish I could get excited, really. That's the truth. As excited as you over such simple things.
Beauty isn't simple. If it was, I'd be beautiful.
You are.
No, I'm simple. You, on the other hand, have all that stuff hiding underneath somewhere. That's what fascinates me.
Fascination. Not love.
I honestly don't know. I guess I've been living alone too long. You're the only woman I've ever thought of as a real partner.
I've always been afraid of living alone. I've always had people talking at me knowing they could wind me up and I'd do whatever they wanted. We all have something hidden underneath. Beauty may not be simple, but it's not all that complicated either. Most of the time you find it right in the middle of all the confusion.
Part Mohawk. Indians are never confused. At least they never let it show.
They kiss again, this time more passionately. Rolling over, they begin to make love. On a farm at dawn, the purple horizon is turning orange, but it's still quite dark when a crusty old farmhand, Rake, opens the creaking door of a stable with a flashlight, leads 3 horses into the morning breeze. 2 dogs, a lab and a spaniel, romp at his heels as Rake opens a log gate. 2 of the untethered horses trot obediently into a large corral. The third, a beautiful stallion, resists, snorting, tossing its head in high spirit.
Get in there, Lucky. Quit horsing around. Get!
Hold on. Lucky moves into the corral, strutting proudly.
Swear, if I didn't know you was just an animal, I'd say you're all full of yourself. Get in there!
The dogs
What's wrong
suddenly
with you
go on
two?
point. Their ears perk, they sniff the air and begin to whine.
What is wrong with you two?
Crack! A startling sound. Rake turns in to find Lucky and the other horses, their eyes flaring, trying to kick their way out of the fencing. They seem terrified. A wide shot of Rake as the frightened animal is 200 yards away. The camera moves in slowly at first, then gaining speed, extraordinary speed. We are seeing through the eyes of whatever it is it's running, charging, slathering hungrily, reaching the corral, darting through the fence, past the kicking horses and leaping at Rake, who whirls around and cries out in pain as the flashlight blinds us with whiteness. The whiteness becomes the glare of halogen lights. We are overwhelmed by the sound of aircraft engines. We are men. We see men, armed soldiers, scrambling into combat, helicopters. A radio man runs right toward the camera and holding out an open receiver.
Top brass, sir.
Another man in the foreground takes the radio phone. We can't see his face, only his forearm, which bears a tattoo of a grinning skull.
Alpha leader.
How long
before you get in there?
15 minutes.
At an office at dawn, a suit talks on a red telephone. Once again, we see no face. An ostentatious diamond ring kicks light as the man snips off the end of a Monte Cristo.
Is he?
I'm the man with a ring?
Yeah.
When
Oh.
he says Monte Cristo, does he mean like from Bennigan's?
Yum.
I believe it's type of cigar.
And sandwich. That's a sandwich.
I much prefer the sandwich, and now I really want one.
The end off the sandwich before he eats it.
Evil doesn't eat crust.
Okay. So I have on my list from earlier, Ada Wong, Dr. Marcus, voice on the phone.
Yeah.
So,
I think that combines with Man in the Ring. My bad.
oh, okay, great.
Okay.
You're a good soldier, but not that good. It's 500 miles away in the backwoods of Pennsylvania.
We have troops on site. A first strike force. Undercover.
Very resourceful. You have my permission to activate them.
Already done that. You have my permission to say that you gave me permission.
The tattooed man runs off to join the other soldiers. In Jill's apartment that morning, Chris sleeps. Just Jill is awake, deep in thought. It's not a ring, it's a vibration. She gets out of bed, checking to see that Chris is still asleep, and moves into a bathroom.
Valentine. If this is just another drill, I'll strangle you. Shit. Give me the activation code.
Jill pulls out a small envelope from the toiletry bag. She breaks open a wax seal and takes out a thick paper on which is printed 29 RC 6735.
That's a match.
Jill clicks
I'm on
off.
my way.
Jill clicks off. She dumps something else from the envelope into her hand, a blue plastic card the size of a Visa, blank except for a mag stripe. There's a small hole in one corner through which a chain is strung. Jill slings the chain overhead, wearing the blue card like a pendant. Chris is still asleep. Jill comes out of the bathroom and looks down at him longingly. Should she wake him, tell him what's happening? She wants to, but duty prevents it. She pulls herself away. Jill pushes aside hangers which hold her clothes. She types numbers into a hidden keypad. A secret panel opens, revealing a closet within the closet, packed with combat uniforms and weapons. The sound, the front door closing, snaps Chris awake. His first thought is for his lover. He reaches out and finds that she's not in bed. He jumps up, rushes to a window, looks down from the second story and sees Jill, heavily armed, in uniform, wearing a beret that has an insignia STARS, S-T-A-R-S. She rushes down the front path and jumps into a Hummer and 3 other troopers on board. The vehicle pulls instantly away, leaving Chris looking through the window, puzzled, angry, and very much wounded. In the Hummer the next morning, Russo drives. Williams and Desmone sit in the back, all tough Special Forces types. Jill in the front passenger seat, though the only female, ranks the highest.
Another practice run, right?
We've been practicing 6 months. For what?
For this. This is the real deal.
Honest to God?
Based on my experience, Williams, God isn't always honest.
Where are we going?
In there.
Jill points to the Arkley forest which lies ahead, miles of old growth, trees shrouded in a ghostly morning mist. In the forest in the morning, deep in the heart of the mist, the Hummer bounces over non-roads and stops 50 yards from a pair of iron gates, each wrought with the letter A. Beyond, the shifting fog offers momentary glimpses of a mansion, huge, like Xanadu. The troopers, amazed, climb out and approach the gates.
If you had the jing to build a place like this, would you build it in the middle of fucking nowhere? Paris.
Manhattan, Upper West.
Some people prefer a quiet life. Our orders are to secure the area.
From what? This area has been secure since the French and Indian War.
A deep animal, snarl, come from the woods. The troopers raise their weapons as they peer into the underbush. The fog keeps sunlight from penetrating. The forest is a maze of dark shadows. Leaves flutter, limbs snap. Dark shapes can be seen moving, circling. A half dozen of them, maybe more.
This is Valentine, Bravo team. We might be in trouble here.
Something leaps out of the bush. Automatic. Weapons spit reflexively. More lunging shapes appear. The troopers scatter, firing as they're attacked from all sides. Jill dives through the shrubbery, shouting into the transmitter.
We are in trouble!
On a Huey morning, Jill's voice stutters over a headset which is pressed against a man's ear.
Under attack by assailants, unidentified.
Sounds like our live feed.
You said it.
I know.
Static, hissing air. The shot widens as the man lowers his headset. First, we see the tattoo on his arm, a grinning skull, which we recognize. Then, gradually, as we see his face, lean and mean, wearing dark sunglasses, this is Albert Wesker, a hard-assed career officer.
Can you get a trace?
Lost the beacon. Just cut out. Like it was swallowed by something.
I do believe, gentlemen, that we're going to be earning some combat pay.
There are 3 other men on board. The closest to Wesker is Barry Burton, a muscular black man as big as a grizzly, with the heart of a teddy bear.
Damn, if you don't love a fight.
Hey, if I didn't, you'd be a dead man. Pilot, call in a 9-9. I want Raccoon City evac.
The camera passes out through one of the helicopter's windows as the chopper soars away. When the shot widens, we see the other Hueys, black, unmarked, keeping formation. 3, 6, 10 of them. In the forest in the morning, the guns blaze. The troopers are under assault by thrashing inhuman shapes, growling, snapping. Jill rolls into a natural trench. DeSimone is behind her, and Williams is crawling just ahead, his legs pumping. Jill scoots past him and sees those legs aren't moving on their own. They've been ripped away from Williams's torso, and they're being dragged into the underbush by some beast concealed in the thick brush. Other beasts attack DeSimone. Then Russo. We only see details. Jill fires her pistol, point blank, to no avail. Red-rimmed eyes, snarling jaws, drooling teeth descend on her as we cut to Jill's apartment that morning. Chris steps out of Jill's building. Suddenly, Huey swoop down out of the sky. The choppers land where they can. Commandos leap out and begin to cordon off the town. Bullhorns blare. There's never been an accident in the hills nearby. A military aircraft carrying live weapons has crashed. Exterior. Chris in Raccoon City, side street. Chris runs down a side street into an alley where he's trapped by commandos, both in front and behind. Let's go, Hayseed. Aiming his M16. You gonna be a good boy? Chris swallows his fury, gritting his teeth. He goes along with the soldiers, prodded by rifle barrels, out on the main street where there's chaos, an Orwellian sight as citizens find themselves hoarded into helicopters and trucks from the local National Guard post. A sweating man, still in his pajamas, rushes up to the soldiers that are escorting Chris.
Look here, I'm the sheriff of this.
Step aside.
But I'm the sheriff, an ex-army man like you.
There's no immediate danger, but as a precaution, we are evacuating the area. You will be provided shelter until the weapons have been removed from the crash site.
That's a worn out scenario. If a plane crashed nearby, don't you think somebody would have heard it go down? Tell us the truth, guys. What's this really about?
I said step aside. The soldier lifts his rifle. He's about to club the sheriff when Chris lunges, grabbing his arm. Whoomp! Chris kicks the soldier in the balls. The man buckles. Chris bolts. He runs through a ward of back alleyways, arriving at a Jeep Sahara. He jumps in without opening the door, jams the key in the ignition, and roars off.
What is this, the Dukes of Hazzard?
In a Huey in the morning, still airborne in one of the black helicopters. They have yet to reach the site. Wesker barks orders into a radio.
Charlie, David, Edward, proceed to Raccoon City. Assist the evac. I'm going on target with the Alpha team. All forces stand ready to support.
On a farm that morning, Chris rumbles his Jeep into a picturesque farm, secluded deep in the forest. We don't recognize it immediately. It was dark when we saw the place last. Jumping out, Chris sees three large shapes lying in the grass of a corral. Rushing over, Chris realizes they're horses. One of them is Lucky, his prize stallion, dead in a pool of blood, with its belly torn open and a huge chunk out of its neck.
Oh no. Lucky.
Chris hears a weak, moaning sound. He turns and sees lying near a water pump. Chris rushes to the man's side and finds him brutally slashed, barely clinging to life.
They come out of the trees ready. Don't know what they was. Figured maybe some kind of wolves or something. I never seen them coming.
Don't try to talk, Rake.
I ain't never left this farm unattended since your daddy first took it over.
I know. You kept the place running better than me.
I just never seen them coming, ready. Never had a chance to turn a gun on them.
There's a thunder in the sky. Chris looks up. Wesker's fleet of black Hueys appears on the horizon. They split up. 7 banking off toward Raccoon City.
Chris?
Where are they going? There's nothing in there except...
You ought to remember it real good. I do. From when you was a kid.
the old Arkley place?
I remember them days. I surely do remember them old days.
I'm not gonna bullshit you, Rake. You're in a bad time. If there's any way to save you, I'll find it. I swear. You just hang in, oh guy. I'll be right back.
No, you won't.
Chris jumps to his feet and runs into the great room of the farmhouse, rustic, cozy. Chris snatches up a telephone. There's no dial tone. The line is dead. Chris rushes to a gun cabinet and pulls out an old Winchester rifle. He scoops ammo from a drawer in his shoulder bag and runs back outside where his eyes catch movement into the corral. Lucky, in trails spilling, is trying to stand.
Oh, God, Rake. Oh, Jesus. The poor thing's still alive somehow.
Chris shoulders his ammo bag, reaches inside, and quickly reloads the Winchester. Stepping forward, he aims carefully.
Sorry, old hoss.
Blam! A clean shot to the horse's brain drops the animal. It takes Chris a long moment to recover, then he looks into the trees. The helicopters are no longer in sight, but their thunder remains. They haven't landed yet. Chris turns and rushes back to Rake's side, only to find he has died. Chris's jaws tighten, but he has no time to mourn. He closes Rake's eyes, digs through the grass, pulls up a handful of dirt, stuffs it into the old man's hand, and closes his stiffening fingers over it.
The earth keeps us.
Conquering his emotions, Chris runs to his Jeep and jumps in. He shifts into a four-wheel drive, ignoring the road, heads straight over to the field to the trees.
You guys, hold on. I have to pee real quick. Keep going. I'll be right back.
As the Jeep disappears, the camera cranes down, zooming in on one of the farm dogs, the spaniel. Not the entire animal, but one of its three separate parts, its front end crushed head, bloody neck, and a single broken paw, which is trying to crawl. 50 yards away, Rake's hand relaxes. The earth spills out through his fingers as the dead man's eyes pop open. In the Arkley forest that morning, the first of the black Hueys drops hazardously into a small clearing with barely enough space. Unable to land on the scrub brush, it hovers 10 feet off the ground. It rotors clipped tree leaves as Wesker, Barry, and two other STARS commandos jump out, heavily armed. The chopper lifts off, placed by Huey number 2. Huey airdrops 2 men, 2 with STARS uniforms. There are 12 commandos in all Alpha Team. Wesker looks up to the Huey's pilot, using his radio to speak to the man.
You have to rotate or you run out of fuel, but I want one chopper to remain in the air at all times. We might need help in a hurry.
Barry looks worried. His instincts are asking, we might need help? Against what? We only see this in his eyes. He says nothing as Wesker leaves the team through the woods, unaware of Chris, following behind, crouching around trees and bushes. Not a trained commando, but comfortable with the land. A natural warrior, using ancestral instincts.
Of course, because he's a man.
I'm just thinking of that commercial.
Well, he is Native American.
I'm just thinking of that
Mohawk.
commercial with the Native American crying from the 70s. The camera.
You mean the Italian man who masqueraded as a Native American?
Pardon me, you mispronounced that. It's pronounced Italian.
Maybe like Bill Tench and Creepshow 2. Jesus.
The camera tracks combat boots as they crunch through the low-lying mist, stopping abruptly when they encounter weapons, ammo belts, bits of shredded uniforms, and human body parts strewn all through the surrounding bush, remnants of what was obviously a feeding frenzy.
Holy God!
Brad Dickers vomits unharmed. He's Alpha Team's computer techie, not a combat soldier. He's a bit of a coward.
Oh,
thanks, George.
Rebecca Chambers is the team's medical officer. She digs an ammonia capsule from her pack and holds it under Vickers' nose. Richard Aiken and Kenneth Sullivan are buddies, regular G.I. Joes right out of every war movie. Aiken stares at the carnage, proudly chewing a wad of gum.
You ever eat roadkill, Sullivan?
Aiken, a guy with a brain your size would be better off dead.
Want me to shoot you, Aiken? I'm ready to shoot somebody.
I'll pass. Shoot Sullivan.
Forrest Spire, a wiry Willem Dafoe type.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such thing as a Willem Dafoe type that's not Willem Dafoe.
Type.
I'll do my best here.
Finds a bloody beret and brings it to Wesker. There's an ID tag on the brim.
Valentine. Radio Washington. Bravo team found on site. No survivors.
In the bushes, Chris overhears, not wanting to believe. He sees Wesker angrily pitch Jill's beret into the bush.
We're going in. Watch your backs.
Wesker advances his troops. When the coast is clear, Chris rushes in, picks up the beret, and sees the name tag for himself. Valentine. One of the Hueys dips in. Chris looks up. The sight of the war machine lifts him from defeat to rage. His eyes are soft. For the last time, he tucks Jill's beret into his pack. When he looks up again, those eyes have become newly predatory. He ducks out of sight as the helicopter swings lower. Something dark, which is moving towards them. It pokes its head out. A wolf. Rake was right. Chris readies his Winchester as the animal stalks forward. It's not a wolf. It's a dog. Mottled. It's fresh flesh gray, covered with rotting lesions, and it has the bleeding bullet holes in its belly, chest, and neck. It leaps at Chris. He fires. Blam!
Who fired? Who fired?
Before anyone can answer, the team is attacked by more dogs, which burst out of the surrounding woods. Dobermans, shepherds, even fucking corgis. But something is seriously their eyes are dead and their flesh decaying. Automatics piss streams of lead. Hot rounds tear through the animals. Many of the slugs accidentally blowing out brains of his bullets of his targets. One of the dog's heads. The commandos are backed up against the iron gates we saw earlier. The Arkley mansion stands beyond.
Let's get inside.
No, I want them all dead. You hear me? Stand fast until they are all dead.
The dogs don't stand a chance. Alpha Team's firepower is overwhelming, but there is a human casualty. Joseph Frost trips and falls. One of the dogs pounces on him, chewing on his heart through his back. Wesker steps in, riddling the dead man and the dog with 40 rounds from his M16. In the next instant, another dog leaps at Wesker from behind. He hears it snarl too late. He dives into the grass. Too late. The dog's about to land on him when it's blasted out of midair by Barry.
Even Stevens, boss. You saved my ass in the desert. I saved yours in Pennsylvania.
I don't believe in being even Steven with anybody.
Well,
A
fuck
man
you.
saves my ass, I pinch his back. Before this day is over, I'll pay you back in ass, Barry. You just stick with me, okay?
Doesn't even watch Even Stevens.
Don't ask, don't tell was still in effect in 98.
That's true.
Wesker checks his equipment belt. Something is missing. He looks to where he rolled in the grass using a flashlight. He finds a small electronic unit of the size of a cell phone, but it's not a cell phone.
It's a
Whatever
flashlight.
it is. Wesker.
So he's gonna put Barry back.
Wesker clips it onto his belt. From the brush, Chris sees all this. The guns have gone silent. The attack seems to be over. Chris moves stealthily to the body of the animal that he shot. It's wearing a collar which reads Spike, number 26. Alongside the ID, there's a corporate-looking logo, the symbol of an umbrella. Another dog is advancing on Chris. He aims his Winchester. The magazine is empty. No time to reload. The dog is on him. Chris scrambles away. The dog bounds after him. Chris drops to the ground. Did he trip? No. He pushed the tree root, which is false. It swings open and he dives in, pulling the root shut over him. The dog arrives an instant later and lets out an angry howl. Ah-ooh! And is blown away by Rodriguez, who neither saw Chris nor where he went. The forest goes dead quiet, too quiet. There's even the chirping of morning birds. Wesker is slapped startlingly on the back by Barry.
Look here, man. I'll follow you into any kind of enemy fire, but these things aren't firing at us. They want us for fucking breakfast. When are you going to tell us what the hell is going on here?
When you need to know, just do your job, soldier. That's what I'm doing. My job.
Wesker pulls a chain from under his shirt and holds a card the size of a Visa, like the one Jill found in her secret envelope, only Wesker's isn't blue, it's green. Stepping away from Barry, he slides the card through a slot in the iron gate frame. Zzz. The gates swing open with a rusty at the mansion's front door. A hand-carved model of the solid oak. Wesker finds another hidden slot and swipes his card. The giant door creaks open. Inside, the place looks like a haunted house. A glorious ruin, once spectacular, now mysterious and threatening. The chandeliers and furniture are covered with sheets that ripple bleezes from 1,000 faults in the old walls.
Old. They probably don't have cable.
They probably don't have radio or Wi-Fi.
Who's they? Whose place is this?
Guy named Arkley, bootlegger, built this old fortress during the Prohibition. He figured nobody'd ever find him out here in the backwoods. Nobody did, till he died. Feds have had it ever since. Place has been here for 80 years. Derelict. A safe house.
A safe house for who? For what?
There's a secret installation. Oh, a network of laboratories.
What kind of laboratories?
Well, they didn't issue us gas masks, so I figure it's okay to breathe because science.
Fuck it.
Why send in a strike force?
Yeah, what are we supposed to do? Polish the silver?
There's a man downstairs, a top priority man. It's our job to bring him out. Hopefully, there are others alive as well. We'll rescue them too, if we can. But Dr. John Marcus, he comes out alive at any, that's a very cute kitty, in all costs.
In the mansion corridor, That morning, the windows are sealed over. No sunshine can enter. From this point on, there will be no indication of time except as shown on clocks. A sense of dread takes a hold of us. Dark shadows, lurch feet scrape sluggishly, not combat boots, but in Nikes, loafers, Doc Martens, not Dr. Martens. Past an accordion gate of corroded bronze. A motor hums. Behind the gate, an old-fashioned service elevator rises, but stops just below floor level. Eyes peer out, waiting for the shuffling feet to pass. Then the car rises the rest of the way, revealing its occupant. Jill Valentine! She's alive! She deactivates the elevator by pulling her blue access card out of an incongruously modern respect. That's a lot of words. Checking to be sure that...
I'm sorry.
She slides the accordion gate aside and steps out of the corridor. With a ghostly moon, something lunges at her from behind the shadows. It's a man. Ooh, in a lab coat. His skin is rotting. His teeth snapping like the dog's. He tries to bite Jill, not merely to do injury. He seems hungry. Jill leaps aside, lifting her pistol and firing once, twice, 3 times a lady. The man is shot in the neck, but he keeps coming. Finally, Jill shoots him in the head and he falls. Wesker and his troops hear the gunshots. There are 3 doors nearby. Wesker selects one of them. Seems to lead to the source of the gunshots. Using a card, he unlocks it.
3 men stay here. Chambers.
I'm not a man.
Rodriguez.
I'm better than a man.
What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. All right.
Say it again now.
Okay, respect the script.
All right. You come with us.
Respect the
Aiken.
script. There it is.
All right. Come with us. Aiken, Sullivan, stick here with Chambers.
Why us?
I don't know. Why me? You? I guess the CO figures you're as worthless as a day making. Sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean. I meant Aiken, not you.
Relax, I get it.
In the mansion library, Wesker leads his troop into an enormous cobweb library lined with bookshelves, but no books. Wesker pulls out something that looks like a Game Boy. He types on a keypad, and a map appears.
That thing tells you where to go?
1 man stays here. Ridley, you're it. Shoot to kill. Just make sure it's not one of us. The rest of you, this way.
Wesker leads his squad through one of the doorways. Ridley, a young rookie, remains. In the underground taverns, Chris reaches the end of the earthen tunnel. There are signs that children once played here. Toy soldiers, graffiti. Chris finds his nickname, Christopher Reddy, etched in hardened mud.
How is that a nickname?
Who plays with toy soldiers? After a moment of reflection, he moves on into a small sheet rock chamber. Chris rushes to it.
I think it's a racist nickname.
Full name. Oh.
Christopher rushes to a door that looks like it's been there since the beginning of time. As soon as he touches the knob, an alarm sounds.
Wow.
That's a fucking weird alarm.
Again.
Ridley is standing guard. She hears the alarm. He hears Christopher jiggling the knob, but he sees no door. The walls around him seem to be solid slabs. In the entry chamber.
Ryan, can you take Ridley? I forgot to assign it.
Sure, no problem. Who's there?
Chris doesn't hear the trooper. Behind him, a decomposed hand pokes out of a drainage ditch beneath the carpet. Chris is unaware of the danger. He hurls himself against the door. The thing that climbs out of the ditch was once a man. I was once a man, but it's long dead. It's a zombie. As it pulls itself up, its eyeglass strikes the side of the ditch. They fall, clattering, the rim scraping the zombie's cheek, which peels away from onion skin. Chris hears a noise, turns and sees the dead man. Reaching out hungrily, Chris is trapped. He aims his Winchester. He forgot. It's empty. The dead man crawls toward him as he tries to jam a bullet into his rifle. The zombie swats at him, catches the beret, looks at it, sniffs it. The bullet pops out of Chris's nervous finger. He tries to load another. In the mansion kitchen, Ridley spots a blue access slot in the wall. He levels his automatic and chews the thing up with a short burst. And a panel swings open. Chris dives out with the zombie, inches behind him, and Ridley fires off another burst of rounds. Stray bullets pierce the zombie's head. It drops back into the chamber with Ridley never knowing why. Ridley and Chris look at each other, asking rapid-fire questions none of them answer.
Who are you?
Who are you? What the hell is stars?
How'd you get in here?
Who sealed the door?
Who knew Who knew there a door? What? What is that?
It was the first strap.
You had
Who
it.
knew there a door?
Okay.
Wham! Another zombie appears suddenly behind Ridley, biting out of the muscle between his shoulder and his neck. The trooper stands, stunned for a moment.
Who?
Then he drops the zombie in a uniform. Once the security guard gazes dully at Chris. A wet sound comes from inside its gullet as it calmly chews on Ridley's flesh. Swallowing, it reaches out. Chris grabs its arms, flings it into the chamber, then fires his Winchester. Once putting a hole in the thing's head, Chris slams the door. In the mansion dining room, shaped in a hearse-sized dining room with draped furniture, Wesker and the other troopers have heard the new gunfire.
Where'd that come from?
Back where we just were.
Shit, man. We're chasing our tails.
Wesker and his team burst into the corridor with an old-fashioned elevator. Flashlights find the body of the zombie that was shot by Jill. Bullet holes all over its body.
Damn, some bitch took a lot of lead.
That's not what killed him. The blood's still running. The wounds are fresh. But look at his skin. This guy's been dead for a couple of days.
He was dead before he was shot?
In the mansion kitchen, Chris checks Ridley at O pulse. His own rustling movements prevent him from hearing that soft, crackling sound. The kitchen is lined with 50-year-old ivy-patterned wallpaper. The printed vines seem to be moving. Chris doesn't even notice the vines begin to wiggle furiously and rip into paper. They're real, sprouts from some sort of exotic plant that have climbed up the walls with intelligence. They seem aware of Chris's presence, and same with M. Night Shyamalan.
Ridley, who are you?
I'm one of the good guys, okay? I'm just trying to...
Solomon Aiken!
Shit!
Chris, familiar with the room, opens a small door in the wall, barely man-sized and almost invisible because it's covered in matching wallpaper. Chris dives in. Aiken and Sullivan pop up behind Rebecca, having barely caught a glimpse of Chris.
Who's that?
Get him! What are they?
Sullivan points at the vines, which are swirling, groping as if alive, making their way toward Ridley's body. In the laundry chute, propping himself up against the sides, Chris descends down as he did as a child, and comes out onto a drop ceiling, newly installed. Iron frames support air filtration systems and other heavy machinery.
Somebody did some major remodeling.
In the kitchen, the vines continue to advance.
We gotta get him out!
The troopers rush to retrieve Ridley's body. The vines hover around them, occasionally darting, then pulling back as if they were timid animals, hungry but afraid of a new food dish.
What? Smart fucking plants?
No big deal. I've seen the ruins. Most plants are smarter than you, Aiken.
In the mansion corridor, the others are still puzzling over the downed zombie.
Why would anyone shoot a dead man?
Let me guess. Maybe because he was walking around?
Headshot. We were spraying those dogs outside, but think about it. Were any of them brought down without a headshot?
Wesker has been exploring the corridor, stopping in front of the elevator. He shines his light into the car. We expect someone or something to be lurking inside. An attack comes from the opposite direction. A figure bursts out of the shadows behind Wesker. Another zombie? No, it's Jill. In a rage, she holds her pistol to Wesker's head.
I lost 3 men. You killed them, Wesker. You did and I did. Because I didn't know what to expect because you didn't tell me.
Tell you what.
Anything. I wasn't told anything.
Put down the gun.
Instead, Jill clicks the hammer back.
Put down the gun.
Not until...
Release! That's an order, soldier!
Jill blinks. Slowly and reluctantly, she lowers her gun.
How did you get in here?
How you doing, Valentine? Good to see ya! Glad you're still alive. Same here, Colonel.
How did you get in here?
The same way those fucking dogs got out. Through their pens. I knocked them off.
Good thinking.
A voice interrupts from the end of the corridor.
Man down!
Ladies first.
Fuck you.
The troopers trickle into the kitchen to find Rebecca kneeling over Ridley's corpse.
Maybe they're in the house. More of them dogs.
Diameter is too small. It almost looks as if it was done by
a human.
Yes, but what kind of human would do something like this?
Not a vegetarian, that's for sure.
Aiken, you'd be better off.
There was a guy, not part of the team, and there was some kind of plant that seemed alive.
Give me a fucking break.
No shit. It disappeared right into the wall.
I guess it's time to spill it. I don't know much more than I already told you, but I'll tell you the rest now. The labs here were working on special apps for bioengineered materials.
Speak English, hombre.
Marcus had been experimenting with an artificial man-made virus, coded the T virus. Financing came from a private corporation. You may have heard the name Umbrella.
They're multinational. Huge.
So huge that they have connections in high places. That's why we're here.
This virus, it jumped, right?
Shit. We're all dead. We got the bug. We're all dead.
Not airborne. It was spread in the water supply. Lab animals and the researchers themselves passed it on by.
By biting.
Exactly.
Okay, so you catch this virus and what?
You have to stay home for 2 months.
Yes.
Right.
Pretty much.
With no stimulus check.
Everybody stay 6 feet apart. You
Where's
die.
my unemployment, Umbrella Corp?
Call this number. You die, but not for long. The chemical revives the brain and...
You stand back up and chew on the first guy you see.
Christ. This is like Night of the Living Dead.
Why in the name of Jesus would anybody want to mess with that shit that does that shit?
Victory,
I'd like to say we need the Leonardo DiCaprio meme for when he says Night of the Living Dead in this script.
Where's Walking Dead, the Inception walk meme?
Yeah.
Oh. Victory, friend. Civilization has come a long way, but we still have war. Imagine a soldier who can't die. Imagine all the people. That was the concept.
But the virus jumped.
Hopefully, if we got all the dogs, we've contained it. So who let the dogs out?
I did. I told you. I went through the pens. Hopefully, Jesus, why didn't you tell us?
By telling you now, I'm putting your lives in jeopardy. Nobody has this information, except a few high and mighties. Me, and now you. We have to get Marcus out of here. He developed this thing. He's the only one who understands it.
I don't know. This all sounds pretty shaky to me.
With a lightning move, Wesker draws his pistol and blam! Fires at Rebecca. She flinches. The bullet flies past her and shatters the skull of Ridley. The dead trooper, who, having stood up, was about to attack Rebecca from behind. Ridley drops dead again.
Guess that proves it. Headshot knocks him down.
That man was dead. Doc, I should have known. That man was dead.
Vickers reaches into Rebecca's bag, pulls out an ammonia capsule, cracks it, and holds it under her nose.
Hope you have a lot of these.
Chris crawls through the drop ceiling in a crawl space into the uprising light from one of the vents. He looks down through the grid work and sees the same laboratory that was behind Marcus in the opening video. No longer pristine, it's wrecked, torn apart. Files are scattered everywhere along with smashed fragments of furniture and computer hardware. Cages that line the walls are filled with lab animals, making nervous chatter. Chris watches a monkey sip water from a water dish. Like the other animals, its skin is rotting. Chris is about to move on when his eye catches movement from outside the cages. There's a man in a lab coat, sitting at a desk and writing on a notepad.
Hey.
Hey!
Hey.
Hey.
Hey!
Hey, girl, hey!
The man turns his head slowly to look up toward the place. There's nothing left of his face. Raw tissue seeps odd-colored fluids. A single eyeball is nestled tenuously into the ooze. Something like a mouth opens and groans. The lab door bursts open. Wesker and Alpha Team stream into the lab. The thing with the destroyed face turns towards the invaders, stands and shuffles toward them. Without hesitation, Wesker, on point, fires a quick burst into the thing's brain. It drops like a sack. The lab animals shriek. The team flies in without noticing another zombie crawling across the floor, heading directly for Spire.
Heads up.
He punches out at a grate of the barrels of his rifle and blam, punches a surefire hole in the zombie's head. Brad Vickers, his nerves badly frayed, thinks his Team is being attacked. He sprays the ceiling with his automatic. Chris ducks
That
and
was
rolls, narrowly escaping the initial barrage, but bullets keep coming. He finds himself on top of an enormous checkerboard of vents and plexiglass panels. It cracks, dropping weight. Chris is plunged into water. He's in a huge aquarium that's built into one of the laboratory's walls, and he's not alone. There are 6 sharks in a tank. Zombie sharks.
No fucking way!
Oh, man!
Zombie sharks.
The largest
We were
of them
denied
snaps back
zombie
fish,
sharks.
but its jaws catch only a clump of swirling hair. Chris kicks with his feet, remaining upright, and fires his wet Winchester. The bullet wimps out, restrained by the water. It penetrates the shark, but barely. Chris gets an idea. He kicks forward. He plants the barrel of the Winchester directly against the aquarium. Glass only finds himself directly aiming at Jill, who is aiming back at him with her N16. They're both stunned. They stare at each other for a moment, as if to say, we need a bigger boat, like gunfighters, till another shark circles in for an attack. Chris swings the Winchester away from Jill and fires underwater. The aquarium's glass cracks but holds.
Hang on, we're gonna get wet.
Hey-oh.
Yeah.
The floor cracks,
Stable,
but the
wet
glass is
Winchester
resistant.
could not penetrate the shark, and then they all got wet.
Chris out. The water surges into the lab, knocking Wesker and some of the squad down. They stand up again, only to find themselves knee-high in a dark pool with shark fins slicing the surface. Everybody opens fire. The dead fish keep coming.
Where the fuck is a shark's brain?
In its head. I swear, Aiken, you would be better off dead.
In a bizarre frenzy, the sharks kick their tails, snapping at the scent of warm flesh. The troopers, hampered by the water, splash around wildly, many of them nearly getting bitten. The air above thickens with a fog of graphite from 10 splitting automatics. The troopers pick them off, one by one. The immediate threat passes, but as the water drains away, the troopers become aware of klaxon-like sound, another alarm. The entry door slides shut with a boom.
I'm not the drunkest tonight. Nice, very nice, Valentine. You set off a containment breach.
It must have been the water. God, the water. Did you swallow any?
I did.
Bunch of us did, man.
Separate systems, salt water, no germs. That does not seem like accurate, but it
Science.
we can go in deeper, but we can't get out. Not with my key card.
So we live here now.
Huh?
Landlords, shithills, kicked my family out of 6 apartments. I got used to saying, so we live here now.
There are override exits, but I can't find them without this.
Wesker flings his Game Boy angrily against the wall like a petulant child. His shoulders
I didn't get my Pikachu!
Well, that was a smart move.
You are?
Nobody. Just a local guy who gets pissed off when he finds his farm animals and his father's oldest friend dead, and the only woman he ever cared about turns out to be a goddamn metalhead.
What's wrong with metal?
Yeah,
I don't
Seriously. Fuck
seriously,
you,
dude.
Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Who was this asshole anyway?
Yeah, that's a good question there, Rodriguez. Valentine, who is this fucking asshole?
His name is Chris Redfield. He was a part of my cover, sir.
Cover?
This is not the time to mouth off, Chris. You're in
No.
deep shit.
No.
Why didn't you let me in on this?
Why did you have to come after me? How did you get in here anyway?
I used to play here when this was a fucking laundry room. And what makes you think I came after you?
Whoa. Look
Ripped.
here.
Barry is stooped over a faceless zombie that Wesker shot. He rips an ID badge from the corpse's coat. He tosses it to Wesker, who reads the ID. Dr. Martin. No, Dr. J. Marcus.
Is this the pile of shit we're supposed to bring out of here?
It once was.
Hey, I got something here.
Brad has been quietly working at one of the lab's computers. Barry rushes over and looks at the monitor screen.
A map. Same as on your gizmo. Exits marked blue and green.
The greens are overrides. Brad, can you print this out?
I can try. We're on level A.
We have to get down to level D.
Hold on. Marcus is dead. If this mission was about bringing him out, we're out of here, right?
I wish you were, but no. We have a potential outbreak here. We might be the only ones who can stop it.
Stop it. How?
There's an antidote. That's
Oh.
the ticket.
Oh.
Antidote. Sure.
Seems plausible.
Yeah.
18 months later.
Yeah. It'll miraculously go away one day, just like that. We can't bring Marcus out, but we can bring out the serum. Maybe someone can analyze it and figure out how to beat the virus.
Jill looks at Chris, catches him weighing his options.
Not simple.
Not complicated either. We only have to decide what's right and what's wrong.
I forgot. You're never confused. So what's right, Mohawk, and what's wrong?
Shit.
Hmm.
There are no green exits on this level. Why would that be?
They don't want anybody up here to go snooping, upstairs or down.
Pretty good guess. You must have been in the military, son.
Native American exempted.
Fuck. There's no way out.
Yes, there is.
Chris points at the broken grid above the shattered aquarium.
Not a bad idea. Vickers, see if you can call up service charts, schematics.
Got it. Ceiling grids, ladders, the whole infrastructure.
Print it. Print all of it.
Rebecca steps over to Brad. She points at his leg. Seated at the computer, his trousers hiked. Blood can be seen on his sock just above his boot.
What's that from?
I snagged it on the desk when we were scrambling.
Lying motherfucker.
Let me look at it.
No, it's just a scratch.
Vickers is one of those guys who wants a haircut, doesn't he?
Hey, I get myself a haircut. Thank you very much.
Chris watches Wesker as he studies the printed charts.
There's a part of an old laundry chute. It might not show on there, but it runs up to the kitchen.
I'm not going up. I'm going down. I'd like to let you guys... Yeah,
Nice.
Spicy.
I know. I got chills.
Hey-o!
I'd like to let you guys off the hook, but I can't. I need backup. You're coming with me. Any objections?
Oh, I'm coming.
Hey-o!
I'm not even breathing heavy yet. Think about baseball, Barry. Think about baseball.
How much are you going to pay your gigolo per orgasm here?
Oh,
It's a seller's market.
That's not how it works. You pay the. Never mind.
We had a whole...
wow. I can't believe Romero wrote all this.
Hero wrote that one. Hey.
Crazy
No
script, you
objections.
guys.
We'll back you up.
All right, where the hell are we?
We're at
Backing Wesker up.
Respect the script, motherfuckers.
30.
I think
we're at
I think we're at
31.
Jill.
Chris is
36.
disappointed.
Troopers exchange
Chris, you're
glances
up.
and bad jokes.
There we go.
No objections. We'll back you up.
You said people wind you up and you do whatever they want you to do.
Stay out of this, son. You're the only one here who doesn't have a choice in this. There's no place to lock you up. I can't let you go. You're a security risk. I could shoot you. Legally. But your lady friend here would probably get all over my ass. So I'm afraid you're coming with us, whether you like it or not. Jill, he's your responsibility. See that he doesn't make any trouble.
You up to the challenge?
Try me.
Already have.
In the crawl space, one by one, the members of Alpha Team wiggle up into the crawl space above the ceiling. Chris climbs up behind Jill. Other troopers are already away, following Wesker, who guides them with the help of his chart. Jill starts after them, and Chris grabs her arm.
Jill, I'm sorry. I'm just angry. When I thought you were gone, then when I saw you alive, I realized that...
That you were still fascinated.
Oh, stop.
He pulls her into an embrace. She goes willingly.
Come with me. We can get out of here.
I want to. I want nothing more. But I can't. When I'm in this uniform, I'm more than just me. Try to understand there's no I in team, Chris.
There's no I
There
in
are
dead.
cliches in this script.
There is no I in dead either.
I know.
I should order. I should order you to come with me. You'd never refuse an order.
You go. You're not part of this.
I'm part of it as long as you are.
This is very uncomfortable.
Is this a kissing book?
Barry, having overheard, is halfway up to the grate.
For me too, brother.
I mean, this iron grate on my stomach is very uncomfortable.
Chris and Jill help Barry into the crawl space. Or rather, Chris and Jill help that whiny little bitch Barry up into the crawl space. They start off after the troop, and the camera tracks them.
This is getting old, man, I swear. I've been in this army 18 fucking years.
Yeah.
18 years?
Yep, 2 away from the big retie.
Death job, right? Nobody lasts that long if they've seen action.
I've seen action in Grenada, Desert Storm. Would have lost it all there if my buddy didn't bring in a team against orders to pull my ass out. Buddy named Wesker.
Do you have a girlfriend in Canada too?
You've been with this asshole since
before that. We were kids together, Macon, Georgia. He's the only asshole some of the time.
Up ahead, Wesker reaches a service ladder. He waves his troop on, and they start to climb down.
Who knows what we'll find down there?
Think positive. Listen, the farther down we go, the worse it's going to get. So till we hit bottom, we're in good shape, relatively speaking.
A distant but distinct sound that sounds like the MGM lion.
What the fuck? Whatever it is, it can't get us. We're in the ceiling.
Maybe it's like really tall.
Aiken.
The lead troopers reach into another section of the ceiling, clustering around a vent. They look down into the B-level lab, more streamlined, more high-tech than the one upstairs. There are large computers, linked by metal shielded conduits to jacks and walls.
Mainframe. Find us some data we could use. Fox, Marini, Vickers, down.
Wesker kicks out the vent. He jumps first through the opening down into the lab, and Chris watches from behind.
the man has balls. I'll say that.
Wesker grabs a desk and pushes it under the vent. Marini climbs down, followed by Fox. Brad is last.
Hustle it, Viskers. You're the guy we need to cut in the network. Watch these entrances, guys.
Fox and Marini take up posts. Brad lowers himself gingerly. He drops into the last 2 feet onto the desk, landing on his bloody leg.
Ah, shit!
He topples, falling to the floor, but pops up instantly.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Another distant snarl.
Hold tight. It doesn't sound like it's on this level.
Shit, I'm locked out. Any clues for a password?
Try 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's
Try
password on my luggage.
Try password. Try umbrella. Try umbrella.
Swordfish.
Try umbrella.
Where?
Brad types rapidly. Flubs types again.
Nothing. Wait, I'm into... No data. Just some kind of video feed. Time-coded yesterday. It's a playback. Holy shit!
We hear it before we see it. The sound of absolute panic. People shouting, screaming, thuds and crashes, glass breaking. Then Ada Wong.
Please, if anyone is receiving the situation is completely out of control.
Wham! Wham! The woman is pushed out above by a man who is trying to protect her from something that blurbs past the lens, like a pendulum, like the pod in the pendulum. From above the next glass, the lens is coated with blood, and it oozes down. We see a partial image of the same man. His head is out of frame at the top of the screen. The thing above must have a hold on it because the man is dangling, his arms twitching. His back has 3 gouges in it, long and so deep they might have been made by a piece of heavy machinery. We only see this for an instant before the man is lifted straight up with amazing speed. Wesker clicks off the monitor. The other men instinctively look up above their heads.
Maybe the ceiling's not such a safe place after all, sir.
Crash! The door behind Fox bursts open. Before he has time to react, the zombie is on him, biting his cheek, neck, shoulder. The 2 figures fall to the floor, grappling. Wesker can't get a clean shot.
Scram!
Marine is the first to reach the desk, but he helps
Get out of
lifting
here.
Brad up and get him 2 more zombies lurch in through the open doorway. Wesker shoots them, but he sees more. Can't tell how shambling toward the open doorway from the darkness and beyond. Brad is yanked up into the ceiling by Sullivan and Aiken. Chris leans out of the opening, reaching for Marini. Wesker kicks the mauling zombie in the head. It takes 3 boots to attract the thing's attention. When it finally looks up at him, Wesker blows out its skull. Chris pulls Marini to safety. Barry leans down through the opening.
Haul ass, boss!
The zombies are heading for Wesker. There are 3 of them. Barry shoots at the one in the front. Misses. His second shot hits the thing's brain. Wesker tries to hoist Fox. This time rolls over on his own. He has drawn his pistol. Before Wesker can stop him, he eats the barrel and blows out the back of his head. One zombie is dangerously close. Barry fires 2 more rounds. No headshot. But the zombie staggers and, though not dead, falls directly towards Wesker. The colonel rolls on his back, kicking himself away, managing to get clear. He uses his own pistol to blast the zombie. He scrambles to his feet, darts towards the desk, and jumps up. The 3rd zombie grabs his leg from above. Barry risks a dangerous shot. Blam! Wesker hears the bullet whiz past his head like a mosquito. The zombie is hit in the skull. It drops. There are more of them coming out of the darkness, and Barry takes a hold of Wesker and, with a single strong arm, pulls him up into a crawl space lab, level B.
That's 2 I owe you.
1. We were all even Steven.
2. Remember? Even Steven? Not in my vocabulary. Let's move.
It's not that bad of a show.
Wesker takes off. Spire, Rodriguez, Aiken, and Sullivan are quick to follow. The others lag behind.
Those things could get up here. We can't let that happen. This is our way out.
Chris swings his leg through the grate and jumps down. In the lab, on the desk, he boots down one of the zombies away and tries to leap over the others. One of them catches his foot midair. Chris isn't hurt, but he topples to the floor, sprawling, losing his Winchester. The zombies have him cornered. He crawls toward his rifle, reaches it, pumps a shell into the firing chamber, aims at the closest of the walking dead, which was once a young man, a simple laborer, wearing overalls, with a name tag that says Joe the Plumber.
Crusoe, can you hear me?
The zombie lumbers forward hungrily.
Caruso, can you hear me?
Chris has come late to the realization that these things were once human. Now he comes into the realization that they are human no longer. The zombie grabs the barrel of the Winchester, pushing it aside. Chris can't bring it back to bear on the monster's head. He blasts around through the thing's belly. It has no effect. The zombie reaches for Chris's throat, starts to lean in to bite him. Blam! The thing's skull explodes. Jill has jumped down on the desk. She fires another accurate pistol round. The second zombie falls.
Thank you.
Anytime. How do we get back up?
Shit, if you didn't have a plan, you shouldn't have jumped down here.
We have a real problem here, Chris.
Jill nods toward the open doorway. There are more stuttering figures approaching out of the dark.
How big is this place? How many people were down here?
How do we get up?
Startling sound, a dark shape swings down from above and grabs Jill. Is the thing we saw in the video? No, it's Barry.
What?
Barry! His mighty arms lift Jill. She's caught by
Barry's
Aiken
a
and
dark shape?
pulled up to
Oh, Lord, George.
That's even worse considering George is actually really good at this kind of stuff. So why would he write that?
Well, maybe it was the other guy.
Yeah, it's the other guy.
Let's go with that.
grabs the edge of the grate and pulls himself up. Reaches back down through the opening. Below, Barry squats and makes a mighty leap with his muscular legs.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Chris grabs his big, bulging arms and his ear.
This would be Winston Duke if this was made now.
Big. Heavy.
Jill grabs on, then
Thank you.
But one of the zombies has reached Barry. It grabs his kicking legs, its teeth snap and catch. The commandos lift Barry clear, but the zombie ends up with a chunk of something in his mouth.
I think Jill's taking a drink first.
It got you.
No skin broken. I'm lying, but I'm all right.
We owe you a pair of pants.
They crawl away. The zombies below reach up, their fingers clutching at the ceiling, but with the desk gone, there's no way they can get up. dissolved to a storage area. The commandos climbed down a steel access ladder into a storage room, stacked with crates and cartons. There's only one door. The place seems secure.
Stand down. 5 minutes.
I'm through, Wesker. Me too, man. This ain't nothing I signed on for. Sorry. It's
good.
right there, you know. Hey,
I love that. That's a highlight.
You want to wait here? Fine.
Wait here? No, we're getting out.
You can't. Not without this access card.
Fuck you and your fancy doors and your green key. The choppers have rockets. They can blow out a wall if they have to. I'm calling them in.
Spire pulls out his radio and starts to punch a code.
See a wall blow. I'll blow them all for you. Oh.
Wesker reaches down to the electronic that he lost and retrieved in the woods. He pulls a long wire out of it with a small sensor at the end.
I'll put a crater in this forest that takes out Raccoon City and everything else for 20 miles with this.
He jams his little sensor into his ear and pushes a button on the belt unit. Small red lights blink.
It's a radio detonator. Sets off explosives that are buried beneath us somewhere. The ultimate containment measure. Incinerate the place. Has a dead man mechanism. Reads my pulse. My heart stops, and kaboom.
You didn't tell us this sooner?
No, of course not. You wouldn't follow me if that was the case.
This is the plot from Saw 3.
Where the hell are we?
You lunatic.
Chris,
Oh, shit. You lunatic. That damn thing can slip out of your ear by accident.
That's right. It's your job, all of your jobs, to see that it doesn't. And to see that my heart doesn't skip any beats. Give me the radio, soldier.
Fire hesitates. Wesker explodes for the first time.
Give me the fucking radio, or we all go up.
Some bitch might do it, Spire.
I'll be obliged to do it. If I don't get that antidote. Yeah, antidote. That's the ticket. I'll have to burn this place out. Valentine.
Jill
Radio?
steps over to Spire and takes the radio from him.
What are you doing? This guy's flunky. He just threatened to blow us all up, for Christ's sakes.
That's what I'm trying to prevent.
In the Arkley forest, in the air. Whap, 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 whap. One Huey is in the air. The camera moves in on a window. LaGuardia is flying. His radio man beside him.
How many digits did you receive?
6. The beginning of an air support code, but it just went dead on me.
Call Stars in Washington. I want...
Hold it! It's Wesker. Yes, sir. We got the signal, sir. He says it was a mistake.
Call Washington anyway. I want the authority to take action if necessary.
In the office, the hand with the ostentatious ring snatches a red telephone receiver out of a desk drawer.
Sorry. If he was in real trouble, we'd have lost half of Pennsylvania by now.
As the hand flicks ash, we see a sheet of paper on the desk from a letterhead that bears an umbrella logo.
No authorization.
In the Arkley forest in the air that day, in the Huey, the radio man clicks off an incoming call.
No independent action.
Damn, I feel so fucking helpless.
The Huey flies over the mansion, which, from the air, looks as stable as the Rock of Gibraltar. In a storage area, Wesker has come down off his rampage. He looks exhausted. He looks staunchly heroic as he speaks.
Hey guys, really quick. Jerry had to jump off for a family emergency. Can someone pick up Barry?
Yes.
I'll take
You got
I
it?
got it.
Who's got Barry?
Diana.
Awesome. Thanks, Diana. You guys were handpicked, a special unit. Most of you have been sitting on your asses, drawing paychecks for more than 2 years. Well, it's time to repay those government loans.
Bullshit. I'm not.
Wesker lifts his automatic. Spire flinches. The action wasn't meant as a threat. Wesker is just checking his ammo.
Hit your empties. Put all your loaded clips in the crate there. I count. Then I want rounds divvied up evenly. All right, we're on level C.
Lingerie, lotions.
Damn it, no more jokes. We have men dead upstairs. This hellhole full of people who died because of this stinking bug.
42.
That's all we have?
It's the life.
Expecting a
It's the
war,
life, the universe, and
Spire.
everything.
Yeah. We weren't expecting a war, Spire. I'll take 3. 3 to your boyfriend.
Don't need them. Got my own loads.
Good.
Oh.
Hey-oh!
Hey!
Good. Don't shoot those loads too soon. Then we all get free clips.
I didn't expect this script to be so horny.
We've been locked up for a really long time.
We haven't seen people.
No more side. No more side trips. It was a lab upstairs. My mistake. I ain't making another one. From now on, it's straight ahead, in and out.
Wesker stands and opens the door. Outside is a service corridor with unfinished walls. Spaces between raw metal beams are stuffed with insulation. Wesker checks the jam outside. It's got a lock mechanism, blue.
Not an override. My key won't work here on the way out. Prop the door.
The troopers drag a heavy crate over to the door open. Wesker moves out. The commandos trickle in after him. Chris holds Joe behind for a moment.
Jill, this guy's a Looney Tune.
He's just trying to get the job done, doing what he has to do.
Yeah, well, I hope you'll say the same thing about me when I do what I have to do.
Chris turns and walks off. Jill follows him out into the service corridor. They catch up with the troop, which is clustered at a blind alley which has 2 doors.
It's not clear which way to go.
Want me to flip a coin?
Wesker is annoyed by the remark. Decisively, he selects one of the doors and uses his green keycard with a bzzz. The lock releases. The troop enters. In the system center, timeless. A vast room 50 by 50 yards. It's filled with heaters, air conditioners, water pumps, mainframes, mounds, piles of toilet paper, and hand sanitizer. For the internal computer network line one wall. Fuse boxes and switcher panels another. This is the system center for the entire facility. There's an attendant's desk just inside the door. Aiken and Sullivan drag it over to prop the door open. It makes a frightening sound as it scrapes the floor, echoing, bouncing around in large space. It prompts a response. Another one of those animal-like snarls from somewhere in the distance.
What's that sound like to you?
A meat eater.
This is the heart of the whole place. We've got to have it protected somehow.
2 things happen almost at once. First, Chris notices electric eyes on all of the columns.
Duck, hit the deck!
Second, a zombie lurches around a corner, bites a chunk out of Marini's face. Jill whirls around to shoot at the zombie, but Chris grabs her, flattens her on the floor. Marini, staggering, screaming in pain, triggers the first electric eye. Laser beams shoot in all directions, forming a tight net. Chris and Jill are barely beneath them. Many of the troopers are hit by the beams, but do no immediate harm. But whatever they contact, small cylinders above the electric eyes begin to hiss.
Chris.
Sorry. For Christ's sake, get down!
The commandos duck under the laser beams just in time. Jets of steam spout out from the cylinders. It's not just hot steam, it's acidic, deadly. Marini is dead on his feet. When he falls, he trips another one of the laser beams. The steam jets spout again. The troop is beneath them, though many are burned, liquid drops that spit from the nozzles. Amazingly, the zombie has avoided contact, but it begins to stumble after commandos. We realize it's going to activate the sensors again.
There's no way out of this mousetrap.
So we live here now?
We got to run for it.
The zombie hits one of the laser beams. The steam hisses out again. The zombie is melted.
Bad idea, Spire.
Down. Through these.
Where do they go?
Doesn't matter.
Sullivan whips out a Swiss Army knife and goes to work on the screws that hold down one of the panels. Other troopers do the same. Another zombie lurches out of the darkness, and another human hands work furiously, loosening screws. Panels come up. Troopers begin to duck through the openings. The second zombie hits a red beam. Steam again. Chris and Jill are spattered, burned, but Jill bravely keeps working with her own issued knife. She gets a panel open and she drops through. A third zombie triggers a burst of steam. Chris ducks and covers. When the jets stop, Chris begins to climb into the opening, but one of those legs is grabbed from behind by one of the dead things that has already been melted. Chris cries out. Acid from the zombie's hand is burning his leg. The thing's lips have been eaten away, making its teeth look frighteningly skeletal as it leans forward for a bite of flesh. Chris jams the stock of the Winchester into the zombie's mouth. He's able to hold the thing's head back, but he's stuck. He can't let go. Jill pops up out of the floor. She presses the barrel of her own weapon into the zombie's forehead.
On 3.
1, 2.
Chris pulls his rifle away at the same instant Jill fires. The zombie is propelled through the air. One of its flailing arms triggers another laser beam. Chris throws himself on top of Jill as steam hisses over them. 20 yards away, Wesker crawls under the cloud of acid. Just as he climbs through one of the openings, he feels pressure on his ear. A groping zombie has accidentally hooked his fingers onto the wire that runs from the detonator to Wesker's earpiece. For a breathless moment, it seems like the sensor will be popped loose. Holding the pulse reader in place, Wesker twists his body, lifts his handgun, and pumps 3 into the deadly thing's brain. In the air duct, the commandos find themselves with no room to stand, hardly room to sit. Chris looks at his rifle stock. It's corroded from the acid in the zombie's mouth, and Jill notices.
God, and it doesn't even stop them.
Not meant to stop them. It's meant to stop something else.
We damn near got turned into Rice Krispies by that gizmo of yours. If you don't want me to nail that fucking thing into your ear, you deactivate it right now.
I can't. They fixed it, so you can't chicken out. The system can only be turned off by the main panel.
Where the hell is that?
Barry, you've changed. Where the explosives are. Down farther than we need to go. We only have to make it down one more level. When we make it back up to the chopters, we can fly out of the detonator's single range.
I'm not willing to rely on that. I live here. This is my town.
Town's been evacuated.
You have to defend it.
Yes. Town's been evacuated, just in case.
That explains the lie about the plane crash, like in the Crazies. An airplane down with weapons on board would nicely explain a big explosion, wouldn't it? You figured all along you might have to blow this place up.
I don't want to do it. I hope I don't have to. That's the best I can do for you, kid. Good faith. Now let's knock it out.
Wesker moves out. The troop follows.
Can't let this happen. I've got to find that bomb.
I'll help. Once Wesker gets what he wants, my obligation is over.
No, I want you out. With the rest of them, Wesker won't push the button until you're clear.
He doesn't want to push the button.
He has to. Don't you see? He can't leave these labs here. And Jesus, walking corpses, he's got to get rid of the evidence.
In the air shaft, the light is dim at best. Long stretches of the shaft are pitch black, and there's a constant stream of air that moans eerily. The whole mission has been like a descent into hell, darker and more frightening with each level down. There are turnoffs, T's and Y's. At one point where Jill looks back, she finds Rosie behind her. Chris is gone. Did he leave to deal with the bomb?
Chris, no!
I've got to try and stop this.
Jill starts back towards Chris but freezes. Everyone freezes when the ductwork starts to ping.
Shit, one thing after another.
Boom! The air shaft is rocked as if punched by a giant fist. Then the whole structure begins to shimmy. What is it, an earthquake?
Sit tight. Ride it out.
Rivets pop, the panels begin to separate, and large, pulsing bits of flesh appear. Not animal flesh, but the flesh of a plant. The things that press in through the openings are larger versions of the vines we saw in the kitchen. Those were its fingertips. These are its arms, strong arms that are ripping the ductwork apart. Chris, Rebecca, Aiken, and Sullivan end up in one part of the shaft, the rest in another, including Jill, who calls out,
Chris!
The section that holds Chris's group falls away with a monstrous, crunching sound. In the arboretum, Chris's group spills out of dangling metal with cables torn from ceiling, sparking around them. The troopers drop out of hell into paradise. An enormous hothouse, a lush indoor jungle of plants, ivies, grasses. It's a rainforest, complete with a thick, damp mist, just like at the Rainforest Cafe, that makes it difficult to see. We might be on another planet. None of the foliage.
Not to interrupt, but I gotta move my car. My roommate wants out.
Okay.
Look, I'll just be.
But we're only on level C.
I know. I'll be right back.
Johnny, can you take over for Jacob for a few minutes?
He's
Right.
playing Chris, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it's gone. Let's note that Rodriguez became Rosie in the screenplay all of a sudden.
What?
Oh, is that
Oh!
Yeah, I noticed that.
It took me a long time reading it this morning to figure that out. But for our listeners, Rosie is Rodriguez.
Good to
Thank
know.
you. And
The
for our
part of
readers.
The part of Rodriguez will now be played by Rosie. Thank you very much.
No, it's still played by me either way. I just play all the random roles that start with R.
Well, I just want to point that out for our listeners who are listening to this and might be wondering, who the fuck is Rosie?
Well, we've gotten more familiar as the movies go
Wow.
on.
I feel like we all know one another now.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can go by first names.
All right.
Pick it up from Burst of Gunfire.
We can't all have a cool nickname like Christopher.
Ready. Ow.
Reddy seems awfully
I'm
racist.
Christopher
of a
Reddy.
nickname.
Yeah.
Very racist.
All right. Burst of gunfire.
Bursts of gunfire from 3 and 16 shatter our ears, and a ceiling vent. Wesker and the others jump down into a very unusual corridor. It seems to stretch forever in both directions. It has no doors, no visible means of exit or entry. The walls are made up of multicolored polymer tiles, whose irregular shapes fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. The floor is heavy steel, though faceted. It seems designated to ship. The whole corridor looks like it might be able to bend to change position like an airport jetway. There are smears of blood everywhere, as if some terrible battle or battles took place here.
This way.
No, that way. Chris and the others.
If they're dead, they're dead. If they're alive, they'll still be alive in 20 minutes. When we get back,
Maybe not.
maybe.
And how do we know it's only going to be 20 minutes? How do we know we'll be able to come back this way?
We don't. We'll do our damnedest to try. This is it, guys, the home stretch. Let's go. Valentine, you're on the clock. Fall in.
Jill wrestles with her emotions, but in the end, dutifully, she falls in. As the troopers move off, we hear odd scratching noises with the high-pitched squeal of metal on metal. In the arboretum, the beefy arms of Plant 42 undulate overhead as Chris and his companions look for an exit.
This thing was no accident? It was cultivated?
And it didn't rip out the ceiling for the fun of it. Stay alert.
The plant seems to behave intelligently with caution. The pods on its arms dart, almost as if sniffing when pulled it back like the vines in the kitchen, like timid animals. Chris spots a doorway.
Here.
As the others follow him, one of the pods swoops down in front of Rebecca and doesn't withdraw. It hovers there. Its follicles open like jaws, which display serrated daggers of cartilage that look like teeth. Inside, a pulsing calcix emits a pistol that twitches and swells.
My mother made me eat vegetables. I know them all. This ain't one of them.
It definitely ain't one. Aiken, it definitely ain't one of those vegetables your mom made you eat.
Another pod swoops down on Sullivan's back. Its beak clamps onto the flesh between its shoulder blades. Its pistol shoots out like a hypodermic needle, stabs him, and within the blink of an eye, sucks out every ounce of the man's blood. His skin turns the color of parchment, flaking off him like powder as she dies.
Sullivan! Jesus, Sullivan!
Aiken rushes to his buddy's side.
Get out of the way!
Chris launches himself into a stone retaining wall around one of the gardens. Leaping up, he grabs one of the sparking conduits and pulls it
Get
down.
out of there, Aiken!
Chris ends up having to shoulder Aiken out of the way. Tendrils from the plant very nearly get both of them, but Chris manages to jam the semi-rigid conduit of a pool sprinkler-fed water into the plant's roots. A bright current stutters through every vine. The plant shrieks hideously as electricity causes fluids to squirt from boils that develop on its flesh, down along its arms and into its blood-sucking pods, which flop lifeless to the floor, with the same sort of liquid smacks that human skulls might make.
They killed Sullivan. The bastards. Whoever did this, they killed Sullivan.
Enraged, Clay Aiken draws a long blade and wildly attacks the remains of Plant 42,
Close.
slashing at the thing's dead limbs, not stopping until he cuts into something that looks like a vine but bleeds red. Clay Aiken traces the thing with his eyes, Up to where it's coiled in high tree branches, it's the oversized body of a copperhead with a belly 6 feet diameter. As Clay Aiken gasps, spellbound, he's stuck from behind. The snake is so long, its body draped on one side of the greenhouse, but its head on the other. With the power of a dozer shovel, jaws like the open hood of a Cadillac, teeth the size of a window clamp onto Clay Aiken's midsection, instantly crushing his ribs.
Ouch.
Chris finds a ski and a rope. He throws the long end over the ceiling beam, then instantly makes a lasso out of the piece in hand and tosses the loop into the snake's head. The noose slips down over the snake's maxillaries and tightens around its neck. Chris uses all of his strength with the ceiling beam as a pulley. The snake's head is slammed against the rafters.
Hold this.
Rebecca is understandably not quick to respond.
Get in here, soldier!
Moving fast, Chris rushes to where Clay Aiken's knife dropped on the floor. He drops it, turns back, and sees something moving inside the snake's bearded torso. It's Aiken, still alive and curled within, like Jonah in the whale. His chest has been crushed to half its normal size. Acids from the monster's intestine have begun to eat through his flesh on his hands, his face, but he's still conscious, able to wheeze out words.
Anaconda!
Kill me. Sullivan said I'd be better off dead. This ain't never been truer than now.
The snake uses all of its strength to lower its head from the ceiling. Rebecca hangs bravely onto the rope, but she's lifted bodily off the floor. The rope snaps, cut by a steel beam. Rebecca falls. The trailing edge of the noose catches a twisted debris. It delays the snake for 2 seconds. Those fragile seconds give Chris enough time to reach into the open belly of the monster and the pins on 2 grenades that dangle from Clay Aiken's vest. The giant copperhead snaps at Chris from behind, missing him by inches. He dives like a wide receiver reaching for a pass. When he reaches Rebecca's arm, his momentum carries her down to the floor. They roll behind another stone wall that contains a ton of earth which protects them. Boom! The explosions of the grenades which blow Clay Aiken and yards of the snake's midsection into eternity. In the conference room, the same nervous hands that we saw in the opening fidget on the polished surface of the conference table. A distorted voice scratches over a speakerphone.
We're close. I think Jacob's back. I think we'll be able to get the package. It's been very interesting.
Anything you can't handle?
Ain't nothing I can't handle.
Keep us appraised.
The man with the ring's hand clicks off the speakerphone.
I'm reassured, gentlemen, that everything is under control.
Wesker, alone in a strange, faceted corridor, packs away his radio. He hears footsteps. Jill appears.
Where are the others?
Right behind me. Were you talking to someone?
To Washington. To my superiors. They're your superiors too, Valentine. Don't forget that.
Nothing, man. No doors, nothing. We hit a dead end.
Us too. Cement wall. We're never going to get to the lab.
In the electric tunnel, Chris and Rebecca are crawling through a 2-foot-high feeder passage for electric cables, their bellies scraping the floor, their backs on the ceiling.
I can't take this anymore.
You take what comes. That's the secret of our Teldar. Oh,
I'm back.
Hi! Okay, take it.
You take what comes. That's the secret of our genius. How old are you?
Not very old at all. Not nearly old enough to.
None of us is old enough for that.
Jill told me you were nice.
Did? Never told me.
The sound returns, cha-chunk, cha-chunk, getting louder in the runway. Down in the corridor, the other troopers see faintly into dusty reaches of the dark, agile shapes, not along the floor, but along the ceiling. They look like apes, swinging from what could they be swinging from? The ceiling is solid metal, close on a monstrous hand, both hairy and scaly. The shot widens to reveal a beast, unlike anything we've ever seen, dangling from the ceiling. It's ape-like and lizard-like, with ferocious eyes that glitter from beneath an instinct-like carapace. The thing is an amalgam of the nasty creatures who pursued us in our nightmares. It's called a hunter. There are 6 of them. As far as we can see, there might be more coming from behind. One of them lets out a... Now it echoes in the corridor, up close and personal. The troopers open fire even before the creatures get in range. Chris and Rebecca hear the gunfire. Hurry. Chris crawls on. Rebecca is stopped with... One of the hunters crawls, punches up through the floor, almost stabbing her. Rebecca screams into tight space. Chris is barely able to reach and take her hand. Cha-chonk! More claws penetrate the metal. The couple plunge ahead of them, the way Chris plunged ahead of the bullets on level A. In the runway, Wesker, Jill, and the others spit lead at the advancing creatures. Bullets sunk into their bodies. Blood flows, but the creature seems to feel no pain, even when they're squarely in their skulls.
Headshots ain't doing nothing.